Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're looking at something that honestly feels completely counterintuitive. We've all seen the classic bumper stickers, right? The coffee mugs, and of course that ubiquitous poster of the little cat hanging from a branch telling us to hang in there. We are constantly told to just smile, look on the bright side, and shrug off our problems. The phrase, "don't worry, be happy," is practically a cultural anthem at this point. But what if blindly following that advice could actually be putting you in harm's way? Today we're exploring a fascinating psychological phenomenon known as the optimism paradox. We're going to break down the research showing that blindly happy people might actually face severe negative consequences in their lives, and we'll figure out what a truly healthy mindset actually looks like.
So, do don't worry, be happy people actually die younger? It kind of sounds like a trick question, doesn't it? You'd naturally assume that a stress-free, constantly smiling person would outlive absolutely everyone else. But as we look closer at the data, some studies point to a highly unexpected trend. They show that this exact group of people, the ones who adopt an extreme don't worry mindset, sometimes face an early death due to a variety of completely preventable reasons. And it's not just isolated health issues either, it's a broad spectrum of causes. It genuinely makes you stop and wonder, how on earth can happiness possibly be a health hazard?
And this brilliantly illustrates the root of the problem, premature death stemming from blind denial. But conversely, a grounded, healthy optimism is associated with better overall health and a much longer life. Now, to be incredibly clear here, optimism itself is not the enemy. Not at all. Major peer-reviewed research, including studies published in the American Journal of Medicine and the JAMA Network, confirms that optimistic individuals often have up to a 15% longer lifespan and significantly lower cardiovascular risk. That's huge. Positive psychological health is a wonderful thing. The danger lies entirely in the difference between a grounded, healthy optimism and a total blind denial of reality.
Section 1. The danger of toxic positivity. Let's transition into exploring the dark side of positivity and what actually causes that alarming premature death statistic.
At the core of this whole issue is a concept called unrealistic optimism. Studies, including those from the NIH, show that this occurs when people chronically underestimate dangers and completely overestimate positive outcomes. Think about it. When you're convinced everything will just magically work out fine, your brain actually stops doing the necessary work of risk assessment. It's literally the psychological equivalent of walking blindly into a busy intersection just because you assume all the cars will magically stop for you. This absolute denial of reality leads directly to terribly poor decisions. And it's exactly this specific cognitive trap that makes unchecked positivity so incredibly dangerous to our well-being.
Now, these abstract concepts manifest in very specific, harmful behaviors that often just masquerade as simple happiness. First up is toxic positivity. You know the type. It's that relentless, exhausting pressure to stay upbeat no matter how dire the situation really is. Then we have recklessness and the denial of risks. If you genuinely don't believe anything bad can happen to you, well, you simply stop wearing your seatbelt. And finally, there's the avoidance of responsibility. Saying, "oh, it'll all be fine," is very often just a really convenient excuse to avoid doing the hard, messy work required to actually make things fine. This kind of reckless optimism creates real-world peril.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these psychological traits translate into very dangerous real-world consequences. We're talking about ignoring medical symptoms because you assume, it's probably nothing. Or ignoring that terrifying clanking noise in your car's engine because you only allow positive vibes on your road trip. It means avoiding financial planning because you think money always just sorts itself out. Refusing to acknowledge deep relationship or workplace problems. And perhaps the most damaging of all, suppressing your true emotions behind a just be happy facade. When you suppress negative emotions instead of actually dealing with them, it directly and severely compromises your ability to make rational, self-protective decisions.
Section 2. Redefining true happiness. Let's move to and see how this builds a healthier framework, redefining that classic "don't worry, be happy" mantra for actual well-being.
You see, the phrase "don't worry, be happy" actually works wonderfully when it means not overthinking things unnecessarily, striving to stay emotionally balanced, and maintaining a healthy perspective on your everyday problems. But it fails spectacularly if it becomes a license to ignore reality, dodge difficult conversations, neglect your physical or mental health, or escape your basic adult responsibilities. Applying the mantra as a tool for emotional balance, that's great, but misusing it as a shield to hide from the world, that is exactly where the danger lies.
Section 3. Building grounded resilience. Here, we'll introduce the ultimate solution to the paradox we've been discussing, shifting our focus to a much healthier, more nuanced mindset.
If you take away just one sentence from this entire explainer, let it be this: be positive, but stay grounded in reality. This right here is the core thesis of the healthiest possible mindset. You absolutely do not have to give up your optimism, your joy, or your fundamental belief that the future can be bright. We're not saying that at all. But you must anchor that positivity firmly in the real world. You have to acknowledge the gravity of gravity, so to speak, while you're still looking up at the sky.
We could actually break this grounded resilience down into 3 highly actionable steps. It starts with step 1, maintaining a hopeful mind. You still cultivate optimism, and you deeply believe in positive outcomes. But that hope must be paired with step 2, clear eyes. This means actively looking at the data, assessing the real risks, and never denying the sometimes harsh reality of your situation. And finally, those clear eyes must lead you to step 3, responsible action. Hope is not a strategy on its own, guys. You have to pair your hopeful mind and your clear eyes with the actual physical work required to mitigate risks and solve your problems.
So the crucial point is this realization: the strongest people are not blindly happy all the time. We often mistake a perpetual, unwavering smile for mental strength, but the research tells us a completely different story. Real strength, real resilience, it's far deeper and honestly far more complex than just putting on a happy face and ignoring the storm outside your window.
In fact, the strongest people are acutely aware of reality, both the good and the bad. They're emotionally resilient, which means they actually bounce back from setbacks rather than just pretending the setbacks never happened in the first place. They possess this incredibly unique ability to sit with and face genuine discomfort. And yet, and this is the amazing part, despite being fully aware of life's difficulties, they are still able to maintain hope and find profound meaning. They're capable of holding both truths at once, that the world is hard and the world is beautiful.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. Is your optimism grounded in reality, or are you wearing blinders? Take a moment today to really reflect on your own mindset. When you face a challenge, do you tackle it with clear eyes and responsible action, or do you hide behind a toxic wall of just be happy? True resilience is waiting for you out there, but only if you're willing to take off the blinders. Thanks so much for joining me for this deep dive, and keep seeking the truth behind the data.